If you think life today is too hard, too exhausting, and too overwhelming, let me take you to a place far worse. Welcome to the year 1325, the Middle Ages, a time with no electricity, no clean water, no toilets, no freedom. A world where you don't choose your job, don't choose your marriage, don't choose your religion. You only choose to survive, or not. A place where fleas, hunger, cold, war, and superstition are your lifelong companions. One day there, surviving to sunset is already a miracle. Are you ready? Close your eyes and imagine. You've just woken up in the year 1325. Chapter 1. Waking up in the year 1325. The start of a day in medieval hell. Lights off. Head down. Now imagine this. You open your eyes in the year 1325. No clocks, no curtains, just a pale beam of light slipping through the cracks in wooden walls, quietly announcing that a new day, a new ordeal has begun. Good news? You're alive. Bad news? So are the fleas. Your body aches. Your bones feel like they've been smashed in a dream, but this isn't a dream. You're lying on what passes for a mattress, a pile of old straw and dried grass, damp, moldy, and long past fresh. It once lined a cattle stall. There is no pillow, no bedsheet, no warm, clean blanket. Instead, there's a woolen cloth, soaked with years of sweat, dust, and winters that never washed away. It's as heavy as a newborn calf. You stir. Immediately, you feel the bite. Lice, fleas, bedbugs, parasites living on your body like uninvited guests. They're so familiar, you barely feel disgust anymore. Only the itch, dull, constant, like a whisper that never stops. You're 22 years old, but in this age, you're considered old. Nearly half of all children die before their 5th birthday. If you live to 40, you're a miracle. Your spine has begun to bend. Your knees crack when you squat. Your teeth, we'll get to those later. But for now, just know, you don't want to smile, and no one expects you to. You hear the church bell. No alarms, no wristwatches. Just a clang echoing in the early breeze, calling you, wake up, pray, work, survive. Your home is a rough wooden hut, a single room, no windows, no privacy. Just one space where people and animals coexist. In the dim morning light, you see your mother boiling water, your father lacing up boots, a baby crying, and your goat chewing straw beneath your bed. No partitions, no separate beds, no personal space. If you're lucky, maybe a piece of cloth separates your parents' bed from the rest, but most likely, you share everything with everyone. And everything includes insects and smells. The morning aroma is a blend. Smoke soaked into the walls, body odor, rotting straw, goat droppings, and something you don't dare identify. No scented candles, no air fresheners, and if there were, they'd melt on the damp dirt floor. You sit up. Your head throbs. Your shoulders ache. Your neck feels like it was strangled all night. You try to stand. Your feet touch the floor. Cold, wet, or sticky. Maybe rainwater from the thatched roof. Maybe something the neighbor's chicken left behind. You don't have shoes. No one does. You walk barefoot. Every step is a gamble. Stones, thorns, broken bones, or worse. Your feet have become part of the ecosystem inside your home. There's no time for dreaming. A long day awaits. The fields are thirsty. The soup needs cooking. The fire must be kindled. Wood must be chopped. And the church expects your bowed head. In 1325, every day is a battle against hunger, cold, disease, and worst of all, despair. And you've only just woken up. Chapter 2. The Toilet, or the absence of one. You're awake. You want to wash your face, use the bathroom, clean yourself. But this is the Middle Ages. And the first thing you need to understand is this. There is nothing. No faucets, no toilets, no toilet paper, no bathroom, no disinfectant, no soap, just dirt, wind, and a wooden bucket. If you live in the countryside, your toilet is simply a hole behind the hut or a bucket placed in the garden. When it's full, and it always is, you or your younger brother have to empty it. Where? In an open field, or directly onto the road. If you live in the city, things are worse and more disgusting. Every morning, people throw waste, urine, feces, and dirty water out the second-story windows. There's an old shout from above, "Garde à l'eau," French for "watch out for the dirty water." But honestly, no one dodges in time. The streets are always wet. They smell of pee, rot, spoiled meat, unwashed laundry water, and decaying garbage. Summer smells like sun-heated rat corpses. Winter, like frozen feces. It all flows into an underground river, snaking through town, where you walk, work, and live. Children play nearby. Dogs lick the streets. Flies circle in clouds. Toilet paper? Number you use grass, straw, rags, or your hand. You might think, surely nobles had clean toilets? Wrong again. Even in castles, the toilet was just a slit in the stone wall, called a garderobe, where waste fell directly into the moat. The moat, dark, reeking, and sometimes where enemies snuck in. Bathing? Later. But if you think this was bad, just wait until we talk about Chapter 3, Brushing Your Teeth, or Why a Medieval Smile Could Be Deadly. You've tried to splash some murky water on your face. Now you want to clean your mouth. Brush your teeth. Sorry. That idea doesn't exist yet. No toothpaste, no toothbrush, no mouthwash, no floss, no dentists. Instead, if you live in a place with decent traditions, maybe your mother chews on a stick, sharpens one end, and rubs it on her teeth. Some people use fireplace ash or vinegar to rinse, but most do nothing at all. Your teeth begin rotting young. There's almost no sugar, but bread? Plenty. And medieval bread is harsh, mixed with bran, grit, husks, sometimes even sand. Eating bread in the Middle Ages is like chewing sandpaper. Every bite scrapes your enamel. You don't know the word cavity, but you know pain. It comes at night when you're trying to sleep but can't, because your tooth is throbbing with every heartbeat. There's no help, no medicine, no anesthetic, no painkillers. You go to the barber, because he's also the tooth puller. He grabs a rusty clamp, a hooked iron tool, no sterilization, no hand washing, and pulls. A crack, a gush of blood, a scream. If you're lucky, you live. If not, the infection spreads through your blood, and you die from a tooth. Yes, you die from a cavity. You don't kiss anyone. No one wants to. Your breath smells of sour beer, raw onions, old meat, and infection. Your mouth is no longer for communication. It's an open chronic wound, ignored and decaying. And you still haven't had breakfast. But we'll get to that in the next chapter. Chapter 4. Breakfast. When pottage and beer are the last hope. Congratulations. You've survived the toilet ordeal. Your mouth still aches, and you've begun to accept a painful truth. Your body doesn't belong to you. It belongs to hunger. Your stomach growls, not from craving, but from despair. You step outside the hut and approach the hearth, where something called breakfast awaits. No boiled eggs, no buttered bread, no hot coffee or whole oats. Instead, you see a blackened pot, stained by years of soot, and inside it, something thick, grayish-brown, and barely moving. That's pottage, the national dish of the Middle Ages. Pottage isn't a dish, it's a concept, a thick stew made from anything left over from yesterday and the day before. Root vegetables, wild weeds, dried onions, wilted greens, old millet. Everything is boiled together in water, rainwater, or well water you hope hasn't had a dead rat fall into it. There's no recipe. It changes slightly each day, but never for the better. Each stir brings a sloshing, slurping sound. And the smell? A blend of damp earth, ashes, and rotting cabbage. In your hand is a slice of bread. Not soft, not fragrant, but like a whetstone, because it's made from rye flour, bran husks, and maybe even sawdust or dirt. Mills don't have filters. A few pebbles in your flour is normal. That's why people grind their teeth down early. Chewing bread also means chewing grit. You think, at least there's something to drink? Yes, but not water. You drink beer. Weak beer. Even children drink it. Why? Because water is unsafe. It's full of parasites, waste, and things best left unnamed. Homemade beer is watery, low in alcohol, not delicious, but safer than water. You sip it. It's bitter, grainy, a bit sour, but at least it doesn't kill you, not immediately. No meat, no eggs, no milk. Unless today is a major feast day, you won't get any meat. And if you're poor, feast days don't feel much different anyway. You look at your younger sibling eating with their hands, scooping pottage from a wooden bowl. Dirty hands, dirty face. Each scoop adds more grime to the pot. But you don't protest, because it's all you've got. And you eat. Not because you're hungry, but because you must. You have a long day ahead. And pottage is the only thing standing between you and collapse. Chapter 5. Clothing. When you wear the same outfit. All winter. You've finished breakfast, or more accurately, you've absorbed enough greasy liquid to avoid fainting at the door. Now comes the task of getting dressed. But here, picking an outfit is a luxury concept. You only have one set of clothes. That's right. One set. There's no wardrobe, no drawers, no seasonal color palettes, just a rough tunic, a pair of trousers, or a wool skirt, all worn down until they feel more familiar than your own skin. You've worn it season after season. It may have once belonged to your father, or your mother stitched it together from old garments. The fabric is rough, stiff, itchy. It rubs against your skin all day, causing rashes and blisters. No real underwear. If you're better off, you might have a linen undershirt. But it's dirty too. Because there's no washing machine, no detergent, no hot water on demand. To wash clothes, you drag them to the river, beat them on rocks, or soak them in a bucket of lye and water. You don't wash often, because of time, because of cold, because fabric is too precious to wear out. So your clothes are stiff as cardboard, caked with dry mud from last week, smelling of smoke, sweat, and mildew. And then there are the shoes, if you even have any, made of raw leather, no soles, no lining, no waterproofing. You wear them through winter, summer, mud, and manure. Or you go barefoot, and the soles of your feet become so calloused they treat gravel like grass. You're always itchy, always uncomfortable. Lice live in your sleeves, fleas hide under your hood. You scratch all day, and that's normal. Everyone does. To the point where no one even notices when you're scratching your armpit mid-conversation. You don't change for bed, because pajamas don't exist. You sleep in what you wore all day. You get married in it, farm in it, go to church in it, and maybe die in it. When winter comes, you add a layer, a thick wool cloak, if your family's lucky enough to own one. If not, you wrap straw around your legs. You drape a sack over your shoulders. You burn straw inside your hut to keep warm, and sometimes burn the roof with it. And that's fashion in the year 1325. There's no style, only survival. Chapter 6. Work. When labor isn't a choice, but a life sentence. You've gotten dressed. You've eaten what passes for breakfast. Now comes the main part of your day, work. But forget the image of an office, a punch clock, or a coffee break. There's no desk, no deadlines, only orders and a shovel. You're a peasant, like over 90% of Europe's population at the time. Not because you chose to be, but because you were born into it. You don't own the land. You labor on it, for a lord you've probably never even seen. You start work when the sun rises and stop only when it sets, 6 days a week. Sundays are off, unless you need to harvest, sow, build fences, chase off wolves, or bury someone who died of a cold. There's no variety in work. You plow, you dig, you harvest, you haul, you lift stones, carry water, pull weeds. You drag heavy buckets from the well to your home. You plant crops not for flavor, but to not starve. If you have oxen, you're lucky. If not, you pull the plow. And if it rains, you work. If it's blazing hot, you work. If you have a toothache, a broken finger, or a festering wound, you still work. Because if you don't get paid. And if you don't get paid, you don't eat. And you know where that leads. If you're a woman, you work twice as much. In addition to the fields, you tend to children, build fires, cook meals, wash clothes, spin thread, mend clothes, care for your husband, and pretend to smile when your husband's master swears at you. Children as young as 5 work too, collecting firewood, herding chickens, watching their younger siblings. If you're lucky enough not to farm, you might be a blacksmith, sweating all day beside fire and iron, or a tanner, working among rotting flesh and urine, used to strip hides. Or you might work at a tavern, cleaning blood, wiping up vomit, and dodging punches from drunk patrons. There's no insurance, no sick days, no mental health support, only dirt, sweat, and a chronic ache in your back that feels like an old friend. You don't have a career. You have a life sentence. You don't dream. You only hope your back doesn't give out before you turn 30. Chapter 7. Weather. When the sky itself becomes your tormentor. If you thought work was the worst part of your day, let the weather remind you. Nature is not on your side. Medieval times had no air conditioning, no central heating, no Gore-Tex jackets, only wind, rain, mud, and a fragile hope that today won't bring a storm. In winter, cold winds slice through the gaps in wooden walls, creep under your clothes, pierce the layer of straw wrapped around your feet. You sleep in the same clothes you worked in, and still shiver. Your nose freezes. Your toes go numb. You wrap yourself in anything you can. Burlap sacks, bark, dry straw. And even then, you might wake up with a leg you no longer feel. Windows? There are no glass panes, just holes, covered with fabric or planks. Every gust is a freezing nightmare. You light fires, but wood is expensive, and cutting trees in the Lord's forest could cost you your hand. So you burn straw. You burn dry dung. You burn hope. In summer, you might think things improve. They don't. Your wooden hut becomes an oven. No fans, no sunscreen, no cold water. You wear the same outfit, now soaked in sweat, clinging to your skin like boiling glue. You can't take it off. That would be indecent, or worse, considered blasphemous. And if you're a woman, you suffocate under 3 layers of skirts while standing over a cooking fire. Flies swarm. Mosquitoes bite you all night. You can't sleep. Wind doesn't enter. There are no windows. Just stale air, sweat, and sighs. Scorching sun? You still work the fields. Rain? You still work. Hail? That's bad, but better than drought. Because if the rains don't come, your crops fail. And if crops fail, you're not just hungry. You die. Each season is a different sentence. Each storm could mean life or disaster. Each freezing night might be someone's last in the village. Weather doesn't care about you. The sky doesn't rain because you pray. The wind doesn't stop because you're cold. The heavens do what they want, and all you can do is endure. Chapter 8. Water. When the simplest thing becomes a deadly threat. You're thirsty. Sweat soaks your shirt. Your throat burns, dry as dust. You need water. But you don't dare drink it. Because in the Middle Ages, water doesn't save you. It kills you. That sparkling stream glistening under the sun? There might be a dead rat upstream. Or maybe someone just dumped a bucket of human waste into it. No filters, no chlorine, no warnings. And that's why people drank beer, starting at 6 a.m. Homemade, weak, low in alcohol, but safer than water. Kids drank it. Old folks drank it. No one loved it, but it kept you alive. Thinking, what about wine? Sure, if you're a noble. But you? You might taste wine on a major holiday, or when you're forced to drink it as medicine. Want to bathe? It's not easy. First, the water is freezing. Second, you have to haul it from the well. Third, people believed bathing opened your pores and let disease in. The result? People avoided bathing as long as possible. If they did, it was on special days or after a funeral. Bathtubs were shared. Person 1 got clean water. Person 2, lukewarm. Person 3, gray. Person 8, death soup. Laundry, same dirty water. And you washed clothes as little as possible. Fabric wore out fast. Soap, no such thing. Just fireplace ash. Or urine, used to remove blood and grease stains. Rainwater? You could collect it. But you had to watch the skies, have a barrel, and keep it covered, lest rats fall in. And ponds? You don't want to know what villagers use them for. River baths? Possible. But you might get swept away. No one knew how to swim. No life jackets. And if you drowned, people said water spirits took you. Not that you bathed in the wrong place. Water, something you need every day, is the one thing you fear the most. You're thirsty, but hesitant. You wash your hands, but only when absolutely necessary. And you pray that today, water doesn't kill you. Chapter 9. Medicine. When seeing the healer is as terrifying as the illness you feel unwell. A headache, fever, dry cough, or maybe just a strange lump on your neck. You think, maybe I should see someone. But in the year 1325, that might be the worst decision of your life. There are no doctors like today, no nurses, no sanitary hospitals, no antibiotics. There are healers, or worse, monks who know a little about blood and prayer. Diagnosis begins by examining your 4 humors: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. Every illness, from broken bones to depression, is blamed on imbalanced humors. Headache? Too much blood. Melancholy? Too much black bile. The cure? Bloodletting. The physician, or more likely the barber surgeon, hands you a wooden bowl, grabs a dull knife, and starts to cut. The blood flows. You feel faint. If you pass out, they rejoice. Good, the toxins are being expelled. No bloodletting? Then maybe you'll be given herbs, like chimney soot, goat urine, or wilted roots, or steamed with cow dung, or have leeches stuck to your neck. Toothache? They'll pull it out. No anesthesia, just wine, and screams. Broken bone? They'll splint it with sticks and rags, and say a prayer. Coughing up blood? They'll smear pine resin on your chest and force-feed you onion porridge. Insomnia? They'll tie you to the bed and pray harder. Worse still, you might be accused of witchcraft, especially if you're a woman. A strange mole, a seizure, you faint, you're suspected of dark magic. And instead of being treated, you're put on trial. And if you don't die from the illness, you might die from the cure. Because most medicine is poison. Wrong dosage, or just bad luck, and you're gone. The healer shrugs. God's will. So you endure. You lie still. You drink leaf water, sit by the fire, pack mud on your wounds, and hope your body pulls through. Because calling for help might be an invitation to death. Chapter 10. Dinner. When every meal is a transaction with death. The sun sets. Cold wind begins to sneak through the thatched roof. You drag yourself back to the small hut after a long day full of mud, sweat, and despair. And you're hungry. Hungry enough to chew on your wooden spoon. But don't get your hopes up. In the Middle Ages, dinner isn't a reward. It's a challenge. It begins with a question. What is there to eat tonight? The answer is usually still pottage, the same thick gruel from the morning, now just thicker, colder, and smellier. Sometimes there's a bit of bread, but it's not soft. It's hard as stone, dry as straw, and you have to soak it in the gruel just so you don't break your teeth. This bread might be mixed with sawdust, grain husks, or even lime powder to stretch the bulk. You eat it, but you're not sure it even counts as food. Meat? Only on feast days, or if you risk poaching. But if you're caught hunting rabbits in the Lord's forest, you could be fined, beaten, or hanged. So instead, you eat turnips. Boiled, mashed, mixed with ashes, and if you're lucky, a pinch of salt. Fish. Only if you live near a river. But rivers are polluted, and fish are scarce. Eggs? Too precious to eat. You save them, sell them, or trade them for firewood or thread. Fruit? Only in season, and it spoils quickly. And if you eat the wrong wild berry, it might be your last supper. There are no forks or knives at the table. You eat with your hands, or a shared, grimy wooden spoon. Your food is gruel-soaked bread, not to enjoy, but simply to swallow. No oil, no sugar, no spice. Only something to keep you upright. And if you get food poisoning, good luck. No one knows which ingredient did it. Could be any of them. There's no refrigeration, no labels, no expiration dates. Only faith in a pot that hasn't been scrubbed since last year. You eat because if you don't, you'll die. But even if you do eat, you still might die. So every dinner, no matter how small, is a gamble between survival and sickness. You eat in silence, not out of politeness, but from exhaustion, from pain, from shivering. Then you lie back on your straw pile, clutch your belly, and pray tonight isn't your last. Chapter 11. Religion. When faith wasn't a choice, but a law. You think the day is nearly over, but it's not. Because one thing is always present, always watching, always demanding: faith. In the Middle Ages, religion wasn't a personal matter. It was everything: law, school, medicine, calendar, control. Not believing, not an option. Not attending church, still not an option. Not bowing your head, that could get you burned alive. You woke up to the sound of church bells. It was time for prayer. Every morning, every noon, every evening. You made the sign of the cross. You bowed. You repeated Latin prayers you didn't understand, because the Bible wasn't for commoners. It was written in a language only clergy and scholars were allowed to learn. You had no choice. Didn't go to church? Expect trouble. Expect fines, suspicion, even accusations of heresy. Didn't pay taxes to the church? You were labeled godless. Every major life event, birth, marriage, death, was overseen by the priest. Baptisms, weddings, funerals, they were all religious ceremonies. Sinned? You confessed. Hungry? You were told it was a test from God. Sick? God was punishing you? Failed crops? You weren't pious enough? Lost a child? God was testing your faith. The church walls were painted with scenes of hell, blood, fire, demons, fangs, pits. Every small mistake, stealing food, lying, sneaking a glance, could land you there. And the only one who could save you? The priest. But what if he didn't like you? Women were seen as weak and more easily tempted by the devil. Smart women, opinionated women, women who used herbal remedies, were quickly labeled witches. And religion was the courtroom. No evidence needed. Only suspicion. Even festivals were saints' days. There were no celebrations of joy. Only days of penance, remembrance, or martyrdom. You sang, but in sad tones. You danced, but within strict bounds. Even joy was policed. Religion was an invisible collar. You bowed not out of understanding, but out of fear. And faith, instead of being light, became a tightening chain, pulling closer with every passing winter. Chapter 12. Women. When your life was decided before you could speak. You're a girl. Bad news. Your fate was written the moment you let out your first cry. No one asks what you want. No one waits for you to grow up and choose. You'll be married off, possibly at 12 or 13. You'll bear children, whether your body is ready or not. And you'll serve your husband, your children, your family, and God. You won't be taught to read, unless you're noble-born or live in a convent. But even then, what you learn revolves around obedience, silence, and virtue. If you marry, you become your husband's property. The law calls you a possession. If you're beaten or abused, no one intervenes. It's a domestic matter. If he dies and you have no sons, you can be kicked out. His property is not your property. If you don't marry, you're a problem. People whisper. People suspect. A woman living alone? She's likely a witch, a harlot, or just not right. If you give birth, there are no doctors, no anesthesia. You might live, or you might not. Maternal death is common. And if you give birth to a girl, the cycle begins all over again. You work, more than the men, not just the fields. You tend children, cook, clean, weave cloth, mend clothes, shear sheep, churn butter, and listen to your husband yell. No days off, no recognition. You're in pain? Stay quiet. You're angry? Stay silent. You're talented? They hate you for it. You're different? They call you heretic. What they call virtue isn't morality, it's submission. And if you dare resist, if you dare speak up, dare heal with herbs, dare live alone, dare be better than a man, they'll hang you or drown you. Being a woman in the Middle Ages wasn't life, it was endurance, and survival was a quiet act of rebellion. Chapter 13. Violence. When evil doesn't hide in shadows but stands in broad daylight. You think there's law here? There is. But it's not for you. The medieval world had no police, no emergency number, no protected by the law. It had only one rule. The strong survive. The weak stay silent or bleed. You could be beaten in the marketplace. No one would intervene. Robbed in broad daylight. No one would chase the thief. Killed for accidentally looking a noble in the eye. Just a misunderstanding. Punishment came swift and brutal. Steal a loaf of bread? Lose a finger. Insult the priest? Wear an iron gag? Offend the Lord? Hang from a tree? Are you a woman? A mere suspicion of witchcraft is enough for the whole village to come after you. No proof needed, just an envious glance. Are you innocent? Good luck. There's no lawyer, no fair trial. To prove your innocence, you'll hold red-hot iron or be tossed into a river. Survive, and you're pure. Die, and, well, that's the end of it. War is normal. Killing is honorable. Beheadings are public events. People bring children. Someone burned alive? The whole town gathers to watch. Violence doesn't hide. It sits in the village square. It wears a priest's robe. It wears a crown. It swings an axe. And it never says sorry. In that world, there is no justice, only survival. And you learn to lower your gaze, to keep your head down. Because one wrong look could be a final goodbye. Chapter 14. Death. When you grow old by coughing and leave. In silence. You survived the winter, the hunger, the sickness. But that doesn't mean you're living. It just means you're stretching the space between one misery and the next. In the Middle Ages, the average life expectancy was 30 to 40. Not because humans couldn't live longer, but because most never got the chance. Half of all children died before the age of 5. If you reached 20, you were a provider. If you made it to 40, you were old. You didn't grow old with gray hair. You aged through broken bones, through a cough that wouldn't go away, through fevers that never broke. Your back bent, your teeth fell out, your hands trembled. By the time you were 30, there were no nursing homes, no end-of-life care. You worked until your body gave out in the field. Then someone dragged you home in silence. No lavish funeral, no gravestone. Just a patch of dirt, a whispered prayer, and forgetfulness. What killed you? Maybe that cough, turning into pneumonia. Maybe that stomach ache, actually an infection. Maybe a small cut, without antibiotics. Or maybe hunger, cold, exhaustion. Or simply, nothing left inside you. You left no will. No one waited to divide your belongings. No one visited, unless you had kin. And if they came, they cried enough to count, then went back to work, to plow, to sow, to survive. Death wasn't tragic. It was routine. It was expected. It was the ending no one found surprising. And when night fell on your hut, someone nearby coughed again. Someone heard it. But they didn't ask. They didn't check. Because they knew. By morning, one less body might lie on the straw. Chapter 15. The ending. And yet, humanity endures. You've just lived a day in the year 1325. A day of stench, biting cold, itching skin, hunger, shivering, and fear. A day where everything modern, from plumbing to compassion, did not exist. A day where you were a plaything in the hands of God, the Lord, the weather, and disease. And yet, somehow, humanity did not disappear. They still gave birth. They still wove cloth. They still planted grain, told stories, sang songs. They still loved. They still dreamed. They still prayed, even when the prayers seemed to vanish into silence. Calloused hands raised stone houses. They dug wells. They made bread. Mothers still held their babies by the hearth. Children still ran, laughing, between filth and church bells. History is not written by the joyful. It's carved in nails, in blood, in tears, by those without names. But they lived. And because they lived, so do we. You have electricity, clean water, antibiotics, windows, a washing machine, a soft mattress, the freedom to choose. Not by miracle, but because someone else suffered so that you don't have to. So tonight, when you pull up the blanket, wash your face with warm water, and flick a switch to bring light, remember, it wasn't always like this. And the miracle is this: even in hell, they never stopped being human. Closing words, a quiet gratitude. We complain about traffic jams, deadlines, slow internet, and the little inconveniences of life. But sometimes the only thing you truly need is to look back at history, to realize you're living in a miracle your ancestors never dared to dream of. You may be exhausted, but you have a soft bed, warm water, and painkillers. You may be overwhelmed, but you don't have to plow fields in a hailstorm just to survive another day. You may be lonely, but you won't be burned at the stake for thinking differently. You may feel lost, but you have a voice, a choice, and a second chance. Something no one in the year 1325 could even imagine. Be thankful you were born in this era, and that you're still here, to be grateful for it. If you found this video meaningful, please share it. Not to romanticize the past, but to appreciate the things that now seem ordinary. Because history isn't just what's behind us. It's a mirror, reminding us how to live better and deeper every day.